Started then, I'd like to go ahead and call the meeting to order for the first quarter Graduate Medical Education Board meeting. Welcome, everyone. Lucas, would you mind going ahead and calling roll?
Yes.
Determining quorum.
All right. Dr. Jennifer Choi will be absent today. Dr. Steve Becker.
Here.
Dr. Cliff Knight.
Here.
Dr. Rachel Shockley. Angie Zago-Hannon.
Here.
Dr. Kevin Gepke.
Here.
Adam Thacker.
Here.
Dr. Grace Geist.
Here.
Dr. Tricia Hearn.
Here.
Clarence Oven. And Kaylee Ryan.
Here.
Get a quorum.
All right, well, thanks everyone for being here today. And today should be, I think, a fairly simple meeting. I think we don't have a lot of new content, but it should be a good informing meeting. So we're really thrilled they're all here today. So first of all, I want to go ahead and welcome our newest board member today. We have Adam Thacker. Adam is joining us, and he's filling the position on the board that is the non-teaching hospital in the Indiana Hospital Association seat of the board. That was the position previously held by Rob McClinn, who we thanked for his service at our last meeting. So welcome, Adam. If you're on the call, would you have a minute to just introduce yourself to all of us? We're thrilled to have you as a member of this board and to get you, your input and insights as we do this work moving forward.
Sure, absolutely. Well, thank you for that introduction. As mentioned, Adam Thacker, I'm the president and CEO at Good Samaritan. So Rob's name was mentioned. Rob retired at the end of 25. I've been at Good Samaritan for 12 years, so worked very closely with Rob. So I feel like I'm kind of hitting the ground running with this group because he's kept me in the loop, and I've been very involved with our GME efforts here at Good Samaritan. I'm a pharmacist by background, so that is my clinical training, and just looking forward to working with the group and how we impact graduate medical education across the state.
Wonderful. Well, welcome. I think for the sake of time, we probably won't go around and do individual introductions, but or should we? Do you think we should, Adam? Do you know the folks on the board, I guess, or have you been able to look at a list?
Yes, Lucas gave me a great orientation and shared information. So not familiar with all the faces yet, but did look at the names and the representation. So I think as we go through the board meetings, I'll get an opportunity to get to know everyone.
Wonderful. And we look forward to, when you'll be here in person as well. But yeah, thank you for being here today. And we're excited to have you as a member of the board.
Thank you. Yes, I planned to be there in person until we decided to get 14 inches of snow, which is, I'm sure, impacting many people, and appreciate the virtual capabilities.
Yeah, no, it is a wise decision, I would say, because it's not that pleasant out there. So yeah, wonderful. All right, well, so next item, welcome, Adam. Next item will be for us to look at our the meeting minutes from our last meeting. Your agenda materials that Lucas sent out included those minutes. And so hopefully folks have had a chance to review those, make any suggestions or edits. If you see anything that we need to correct, we'll give it a second, and then I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes. Motion to approve the minutes. Okay.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, so the minutes are approved from our last meeting. Thank you, Lucas, for taking care of those for us. And then as we begin the calendar year, I think the first order of business every year is the nomination and approval of our board chair. And so I will ask Lucas to collect nominations.
So are there any board members that are looking to nominate another member or themselves?
I will nominate Dr. Hearn.
Okay. All righty.
I'll second that.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Are there any other nominations? Going once, going twice, And I think we're ready to collect the votes. So this will be a roll call vote, as we were advised by our general counsel. So, we will start with Dr. Becker,
Yes.
Dr. Knight,
Yes.
Dr. Shockley,
Yes.
Angie Zagel, Hannon,
Yes.
right? Dr. Gepke,
Yes.
Adam Thacker,
Yes.
Dr. Grace Christ,
Yes.
and Dr. Tricia Hearn.
Sure, yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is a unanimous decision, so, yeah, I think you'll have your next appointment as chair, to serve until December 31, 2026.
All right, perfect. Thank you. Well, I appreciate the confidence of everyone and just the opportunity to continue to serve. It's been a real pleasure and I look forward to this year ahead with you all. So thank you. Okay, before we continue with our new business, I thought it would be a good time there. It is kind of a active time in the legislature right now, and just I would like to open it up to board members to discuss the current legislative session. I think there are some bills that have directly impact this board that have been proposed, and just wanted to offer some opportunity for some dialogue on that since it's relevant to our current some of our current work. So I wanted to, just invite the board for a discussion on those topics if there's input.
Be helpful to do kind of a quick just overview of what that amendment.
I
proposal
think
is.
it would-
I pulled it up just.
Yeah, do you have it handy? Yeah,
Because it is one of
Dr.
those things,
Knight been very involved in reviewing this, so it might be worthy of just talking about what the current amendment is that's relevant to us.
So, from reading through this, and I am not a legislative expert from the standpoint of trying to figure out when you read through amendments, exactly what has been removed and what's still in place versus new language. But the new language would be that this board would basically be, become a combination of the current Indiana Medical Education Board and the current Indiana Graduate Medical Education Board. The proposed name is the Indiana Medical Graduate and Education Board, which that's a kind of a
Mouthful.
it doesn't really flow. But the new makeup as of December 31st, 2026, the board would consist of 14 members, is what it says, although yesterday in second reading in the House, there was an amendment to add a 15th member. So my understanding now is that it would be 15 members, but the members of the newly constituted board would be the Dean of the IU School of Medicine, who would serve as the chairperson of the board. And then 13 members, I guess now 14, appointed by the governor, one representing a regional medical school campus of the IU School of Medicine, one member representing the Marian University College of Osteopathic Medicine, one member representing the Indiana State Medical Association, one member representing the Indiana Osteopathic Medical Association, one member representing the Indiana Primary Healthcare Association, one member representing a teaching hospital that is a member of the Indiana Hospital Association, one member representing a non-teaching hospital that is a member of the Indiana Hospital Association, two members who are medical directors of residency programs, one member who is the director of medical education of an Indiana hospital that is not owned by, operated by, or affiliated with Indiana University, one member who is a hospital administrator employed by a hospital not owned by, operated by, or affiliated with Indiana University and not employed by the hospital that employs the member appointed under the clause. Two members who are physicians holding unlimited licenses to practice medicine in Indiana. The following apply to the members appointed under this clause. Neither member may be employed as a director of medical education, and at least one of the members must practice in the specialty of family medicine. So that's the outline of the new, the proposed board that would take effect in 2027. And otherwise, I've struggled to exactly see if there's, again, any changes in the role or the charge of the board, that sort of thing. I didn't see that. It really was focused more on the makeup of the board, as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
So,
So what problem does this solve?
Well, that's a good question because it didn't originate from our board at all. So it came from,
It was this it's kind of grouped up into an entire consolidation of boards across the state. So many, well, some are being eliminated completely, and this would just be a merger of two. So yeah, it's not a, I would say a targeted proposal towards GMEB, but rather just a happening of something larger.
The other board is the
Medical Education Board
education board, which manages the family medicine
programs. with
program
IU.
grants.
Grants,
Yeah.
and that budget's around a 3 million, is that right? $3 million
I think
budget?
just under.
Just under,
around that
that
neighborhood.
distributes funds to family medicine residencies historically in the state to help support initiatives that are
Education.
education-based that maybe are not always, as easy to obtain in the budget at that home hospital or health system. And so it provides additional support specifically to those family medicine residencies. And I think the way it's structured, well, you've been on it, it's divided fairly or by proportionally across.
That's where some of these newly designated seats on the board are sort of mirror language of what it currently exists in the language that populates the medical education board. And yeah, I served on that. It's been probably 15 years since I was on that, but that board, I believe, was formed in the 60s or 70s and has always been focused on providing additional funding support for family medicine residencies. There are 17 accredited family medicine residencies in Indiana, and each of them get a portion of the grants, plus then there is another component of the grant that they can apply for additional sort of special project funding. But all of the residencies get a portion of the funding, the way it's set up. And the family medicine residency programs really rely on that funding to be able to do, well, there's a family medicine program director right here. I'm the past program director, and when I was program director, I did rely on that money to be able to do things like we, for example, when I was there, we purchased joint models, and now a lot of places are using it to purchase like ultrasound educational equipment or to fund different special projects. So the idea is not to pay for the nuts and bolts of the residency, like faculty salaries. It's really to allow the residency to do things that otherwise they probably often wouldn't get budgeted to do, because it allows them to do sort of projects of excellence rather than just meeting the bare minimums. And so it's, again, it's been around a long, long time, and the programs really appreciate and rely on that funding to be able to do all the things they need to be able to do.
It's often a lot of faculty development, education for that. We've sent many faculty to fellowship training so that they can come back and be better teachers. It's often used for a lot of education purposes and to fund. So we,
Yeah, well, and you asked,
Great.
like, what problem is this solving? I think, largely it's, relative to accountability. And I think just providing a clear line of sight and through the entire medical training, I think that's largely what the goal is. And listening in session, it sounds like the perception is the two boards do very, very, very similar things. Almost the same function. And so I think add all these things together, and that's what's brought us to the
Yeah, I
current
think
amendment and
that,
bill.
yeah, and they are distinct functions, I think, or they have been. Now there's overlap for sure in terms of they're both providing funding support to residency programs in the state of Indiana. But the missions of each board are distinct in my opinion. Not that one board couldn't manage both functions, that I think they could.
the other board is focused on, is only
Family
family
medicine.
medicine residencies, where our board is a very care plus.
Yeah.
Entity.
Yeah.
At least.
And the mission of this board is to create and support new programs, and that family, or the medical education board is more about sustaining and bringing up excellence in the existing family medicine programs, no matter how many there are in the state.
It almost seems that could be a function of a management section of this board.
Right, it could be, yeah, a way to, I guess, presuming, because this has to go through many legislative steps, is that right? This is
It
just,
just had second reading, so it still has third reading in the House, and then if approved, then it goes to the Senate, and likewise, there would be a committee hearing as well as that we heard, they'd have 3 readings at the Senate to pass it, and then if there's differences, it would go to a combined committee so it's got several steps left in the process.
but yesterday there was one step that took place to make sure that the IOAC is back.
Now, which is reflected on the website now.
Already.
It's already on there, yeah.
Okay,
And that was a technical corrections
Yeah.
bill, is what we were told.
Okay,
It's an oversight.
in the beginning, yeah.
Oh, wonderful, thank you. Noticing, yeah, go ahead.
Does anybody have a idea of funding for the 2 boards? Are they gonna try to consolidate funding, or are they going to are we all gonna be working out of the same pot of money that is now less than what we're currently working with? Is that one of the reasons behind wanting to consolidate the boards?
I don't think so. From what I've read, and this is the short session, so fiscal is not necessarily the focus. From what I saw that, the funds would be combined, as long with the boards, but there's no change in charge with how that money should be spent, or at least no explicit language, in the proposed code.
Would the monies be combined or stay as 2 separate?
I think that kind of gets into the weeds a bit. I think like it comes under the same account, but likely different funds. I just started learning about this with centralized accounting, because we currently have 2 funds under our Gmail account. So I think it just kind of gets into layers. But my understanding from reading the amendments, and I haven't read all of them, is that they would still be distinct, at least for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, that's what I'm struggling with as I read 500 pages. The sections related to this, I don't think it amends the functions of either board, but I don't know from a process standpoint, when 2 boards are essentially eliminated and 1 board is formed to replace those, do the charges of those boards automatically fold into the new, or is there a new set of charges to those boards that's formed? And that I'm very uncertain based on what I've read on, and I haven't been able to talk to anybody that seems to know that. The author doesn't seem to feel that that's the intent. But I'm a little concerned about intent versus what the language actually states. So that's,
Yeah.
that's what I'm hearing from people in general is, yeah, 1 board could probably do this. Because they're both focused on graduate medical education. So yeah, you can have 1 board that does this, as long as the charges are very clear, the goals of what the 2 distinct funding pathways continue to be distinct. And that's the concern. I think when I talk to people about this is the fear that having 1 board doing this, you lose some of the unique identity of the individual boards as far as the areas of focus and the goals for that funding, because there's certainly overlap, but there's also, distinct reasons why they've been separate in the past.
When is the approximate end of the session? About,
I looked at the Bowen website and it said just over a month. I don't necessarily anticipate them getting done early. So I would anticipate around another month, definitely before our next meeting.
They're saying February 27th.
Yeah.
I think it's the.
what? It's a little bit different.
Any other comments from folks online? I want to make sure folks, if you have any feedback or comments to share, that we hear them.
Well, leadership from the health and the education vertical asked that, I document all the feedback and any concerns and that they'll pass that up through their chain of command. So everything that was expressed today, we'll make sure that it's heard somewhere up the ladder.
When would this take place? January 1?
That's what I've seen in the code, yeah.
January 27th.
Yeah.
And would we potentially have some interaction between the two boards before that?
I imagine the appointments could be changed at that point. I
I
mean,
believe appointments typically come out, in early July, at least in my experience. So I would anticipate some kind of interaction around that time, but probably not before that.
Just to make sure that in the transition that there's no disruption in the timing of when we normally disperse funds that are so relied upon, right?
Yes.
I don't know how their board functions and what their cycles are for reviewing grants and that kind of thing. So, I mean,
They currently only meet twice a year, and in May and December, so
okay.
it's a very.
all right. Well,
Great.
thank you for the feedback, and we'll, as we know more, by our next, well, we should know quite a bit more by our next meeting then. That sounds like, so thank you for the feedback, and Lucas and team will, continue to keep an eye on it, and I know Dr. Knight's been active and been paying attention, and many of us have been, since this is of course, key interest to our board in terms of how it'll function moving forward, so thank you. Okay, well, let's go ahead and pivot to our next item. So we're gonna work today. We're going to review the program development grants. This is one of our meetings. We're not voting on new grants today's meeting. This is our time to review the existing grants and how they're functioning, or get the reports that they provide back to our board. So I'm going to ask Lucas to guide us through the program development grant reports for us today. Thank you, Lucas.
Yeah. So today's report focuses specifically on Parkview. And I'll just go ahead and read the narrative, the key takeaways, and then the actual reports and the materials, the link I sent earlier. Key takeaways. 1, 2 programs advancing toward full operational readiness. Parkview Psychiatry and Family Medicine residencies both reported substantial progress in curriculum development, faculty preparation, and accreditation milestones, positioning them for successful resident recruitment and long-term sustainability. 2, accreditation momentum is strong. Family Medicine achieved accreditation in July 2024, while Psychiatry followed in February 2025. Both programs are now operating with accredited structures and are building out the remaining components needed for full program launch. 3, faculty development is a major institutional investment. Both programs use grant support to strengthen faculty readiness, but Family Medicine has implemented a particularly robust development ecosystem, weekly and bi-weekly sessions, national conferences, research engagement, and leadership training. Psychiatry is building a parallel structure with monthly sessions and targeted national conference participation. 4, grant funding has been essential for protected time and infrastructure. In both programs, a program development grant funded program director and program coordinator effort, enabling curriculum design, policy development, evaluation systems, and recruitment activities. Family Medicine additionally leveraged funds to refine rotation guides, redesign block schedules, prepare for osteopathic recognition, and support clinic operational readiness. I'll stop messing with it. 5, faculty capacity remains a shared challenge. Psychiatry faces limited availability of psychiatrists and difficulty securing protected teaching time due to workforce shortages. Family Medicine's challenge is the breadth of its curriculum and the significant time required to train faculty in ACGME requirements, assessment, and teaching skills. Both programs require continued institutional support to maintain faculty engagement and bandwidth. 6, curriculum development has advanced significantly in both specialties. Psychiatry focused on building foundational didactics, rotation frameworks, and evaluation processes. Family Medicine completed a comprehensive second review of its curriculum, strengthened inpatient and procedural experiences, expanded pediatric and NICU exposure, and enhanced musculoskeletal and orthopedic training. 7, both programs are preparing for growth. Each program indicated interest in applying for an expansion grant, signaling confidence in their trajectory and a desire to scale training capacity. Continued progress is in faculty recruitment, clinical site training, or clinical site readiness, and accreditation stability will be key to expansion feasibility. So more details in the rest of that report. I don't think any real surprises in that report, kind of, what you would expect. So that is the first, and I guess, standard report. And if you'll recall, the board had 2 grants for IU Health that were on a bit of a late schedule. They had a delay in getting their ACGME accreditation. And that's what this update is. If I can find my mouse. IU Health and IU School of Medicine have worked diligently over the course of the grant period to establish the internal medicine and emergency medicine GME programs at IU Health's Regional Academic Health Center in Bloomington, Indiana. Together, this group reached many implementation milestones. However, measurable outcomes include achieving the ACGME accreditation for both programs, and that both programs have entered the NRMP Match 2026 cycle. Because the programs have just received accreditation, no residents have been enrolled yet, so outcomes on measures identified in our proposal cannot be reported on until the first cohort of residents is complete. IU Health and IU School of Medicine hope to continue pursuing external state funding dedicated toward implementing and expanding these 2 programs, as current funding was instrumental in increasing graduate medical education in South Central Indiana. That's kind of the notable part. So 4 new programs the board can anticipate applying for residency expansion come July. I think that's kind of the most significant takeaway from these reports. Any questions? Like I said, I don't think there were any surprises.
Seems like they're on track with their accreditation, entering the match and, doing the
It's all been.
preparation. Yeah, it's great to see.
Yep. And Dr. Choi might be able to share additional details on those IU Health programs next meeting.
Perfect.
Great.
All right. Well, wonderful. It's great to hear that those are on track and appreciate your work with the programs to getting these reports and having them feedback to our board. It's, it's really helpful having this feedback cycle so we know where the grant funding is, how it's been used and if they're on track. Okay, thank you, Lucas. So let's move on to our old business. So now what we're going to do is talk about the residency expansion RFP, and Lucas had at our last meeting, we asked that there be a subgroup look at a subcommittee to look at a little bit about the language in that RFP. I think there was some work done in between since our last meeting. Lucas can share about that. And so there are some proposed small changes that we're going to consider for our RFP for the residency expansion grant. Lucas, do you want to share a little bit about the work that was done in between and the proposed changes for this update on our expansion RFP?
Yes. Go ahead. Sure. So during that working group, I had proposed several changes, including, kind of reallocating points towards retention of physicians in Indiana, kind of looking at specialty, perhaps reworking the years since establishment. And there was kind of divided opinion on each of those. I think a lot of it was because, is this too soon to be asking about retention data? Does this accurately reflect our rurality, I guess, perspective and standards, things like that. In view of all that's going on with session and our tightened schedule and like board member Zabel-Hannon said, trying to make sure that our grantees have the best ability to apply. I've cut back on those proposals to only really propose today language, and I believe it's 3.1, which works to, implement language that only truly naive programs that have not received any kind of GME funds, GMEP funds previously can apply as a new program to the board. Beyond that one change in 3.1, the rest is the same RFP that was looked at, previously. And this is just to give the grantees the best opportunity to create, really strong applications come July. Willing to answer any further questions or concerns.
Can you clarify the meaning of entities and institutions?
It's interchangeable, essentially a grantee. Those are just
Okay,
eligible bodies. So like SIGMEC, I would.
Yeah.
Interchangeable.
okay.
Yeah.
So then an institution like Parkview or IU Health from our previous dialogue, the entirety of that system would be excluded in the future?
The specialties are kind of the focus. And so that's, I believe in earlier. Well, I won't go through the entire thing, but I can find that section for you. But it defines a new program as belonging to that grantee institution health system, but then relating specifically to that specialty.
Okay, I'm just thinking about statewide footprints
Yeah.
and systems that are
Yeah.
trying to serve a completely new community, perhaps on the opposite side of the state. So I worry about that limiting our ability, especially if there are, if, hopefully we get to the point that we have funded all of the programs that have requested, and there are opportunities for additional expansion. I just don't want to close that up, that door to different.
So which is a good point.
So I think the intent is if you've got an existing program, they close, they reconstitute. That's really what this was trying to prevent, paying to restart a program that had already existed that was basically closing and restarting, that they just aren't eligible. So, yeah, I think you raise a great question. And if IU is the sponsoring institution and they've got their program in Jasper in family medicine and Lafayette in family medicine, now they want to open one in Seymour in family medicine, they shouldn't be disqualified just because they've already had family medicine residencies under their institution. And so I think we do have to be careful that we don't box ourselves into a corner from that standpoint. But I think the intent was if Main Street Hospital has a family medicine residency and now they've shut it down and 2 years later they want to restart it, but they already got a program expansion grant 5-10 years ago, they're not going to be eligible for another program expansion grant to start a program in that same place.
Yeah.
Right? That was kind of.
That's correct.
Well, and we could add language, up on further consideration of the board, this can be, approved or whatever that language is. Or if there are any suggestions, feel free to send me an email and I can work on adding that in. But yeah, that was the intent of this added language, was to avoid that specific situation.
Are we better off maybe not adding and then as we score out something, our scoring, we take care of that? Because I hate to have unintended consequences from this language because I agree with yours, if IU wants to open another one in another town, that's great. I think that fits our mission. We want that.
Yeah, and I'm thinking if you change the language to program, then that gets, I don't know if that fixes it because in theory, they could become a new program.
Right.
Perhaps it could be a situation where, in the budget, rather than adding eligibility information, it's if some part of this program has received prior GMAP funding, that must be disclosed. Perhaps that's all it is, rather than changing eligibility, I guess,
Right.
overtly.
Yeah, maybe there's a disclosure of that and then when we score out,
If the
That's
applicant
correct,
has
the
received
words
prior GMAP
it kind of works
funds.
itself out that way.
Is this the geographic? Could we just put some language in there about geographic, exceptions if they are to address the example that was just presented?
What would that look like?
Well, we do have I mean, what a program would have, does the application not have, an address, a
Mhm.
location? And if we said, if, exceptions could be made if the program was gonna be located in a, you know, pick your circle, right?
123 Main Street.
Yeah, but I mean, it would be like, 200 miles away from the existing, or, whatever would be new, right?
Mhm.
The other thing I was thinking is, what about deductions? Like, instead of us giving points, could we have a point deduction if they've been receiving past funds?
And I think that was a point of discussion previously, when we were looking at, years since establishment. Staff has been using the ACGME website as that main overall reference point. And I think that was part of what brought up the situation previously, is that according to ACGME, this was a totally naive new program that, I guess there was no methodology of telling if GMET funds had been received. So I think that's initially what brought up this discussion, is how is that brought up for board consideration explicitly via the application.
Any thoughts from those who are online? It's hard, I can't. Want to make sure I open it up to that group.
This is Adam Thacker.
Yeah.
I would say I agree with a lot of the comments made that the current language may be too broad from a statewide application standpoint. And I think the intent is to identify where previous funding has been awarded at the same program, same location. I don't know that a policy is going to perfectly illustrate that in kind of any context. But I think the application process certainly should require an element of disclosure of previous funding, which the board can take into consideration. And then we can look at if the prior funding is being used to start a new program in the same location or restart a program that was closed, which those comments were made, then that should flow for consideration of that funding not to be provided. But there are
Yes.
probably too many variables to just simply put it in a policy. And with statewide health systems, I think the current language, that was the very first thing I saw when I read it, an IU Health that's opening a new program in a needed community hundreds of miles from existing, then we want to grow those programs, but we don't want to see a program get funding double dip, so to speak.
Yeah. So maybe from what I'm hearing, we amend it to be the language in here to be something about disclosure of.
Perhaps disclosure of funds, for all GMEB grants and the relevant specialty. I think that kind of
With the
avoids.
same- Within the same general location, I mean.
Yeah, and location.
And then that it be maybe board discretion to consider, because we really don't have a points to assign, but it would, like, I think, could the board have enough discretion to say, this seems like this is the same program getting funding, I mean, I think that's what we're asking for, is that judgment to say, this seems like this program already got funding.
Yeah.
And then if we could, would the board be able to have the discretion to not enter it, not allow the RFP to be scored? Because you can't really use the scoring rubric to parse this out. Does that make sense?
And I think historically we've done that before. We've
Mhm.
had things that were sent to us. We're like, this is not the right category, and
Or
we've
just
sent them
making it
back and
eligible
said,
and not what we want, yeah.
you should apply for an
Something different.
expansion grant or something different.
Yeah.
We've done that.
Procedurally, when do you need to be able to publicly release this RFP?
So, board meeting is July 31st. 30 days prior is the application deadline, July 1. I would want to give potential applicants at least 1 month. So that brings us what to
That'd be nice to have it out.
June. No, staff would recommend no later than the April meeting, ideally before that. There have been several previous grantees that have reached out asking about changes, and 1 or 2 have already sent applications. So, you know.
So, how,
So, yeah, but actually,
should we take a motion, do you need a motion from us today to sort of tweak this language? And
Yeah.
then if we approve that,
So, just so I'm clear, not looking to add 3.1 change in eligibility, but rather a disclosure statement and the budget. That's kind of what I'm understanding from this conversation.
yeah, disclosure if they've previously received GMED funding
Mhm.
at that location.
Yeah.
Or a portion of that program. I mean, because programs could split and divide or pieces go here and there. So I think, yeah, some disclosure of whether that entity or portions of that entity have already received GMED funding. And then it would be up to the discretion of the board how to move that grant forward, somehow make that.
I guess,
If
you know-
people, if that, and, you know, we can get a motion if we feel that that's the right direction after this discussion.
I think the board could, you know, make the motion to change the language. And then, you know, depending on what timeline we're looking at, the board could call an ad hoc meeting. Just 4 people would be needed in person. Wait until April, or the board, I believe, could vote to, you know, pending sign off of the chair, approved language for posting. So I think those are our 3 options that we could look at. I would still send that RFP out to all board members for review
Yeah,
prior
for
to
everyone to
any of
review
that,
it.
but those are our 3 options, I
I don't
think.
think we want to have an ad hoc in-person meeting.
No, that's probably not
No,
optimal. So if we could find a more expedient way to manage.
I anticipate having these changes done by Tuesday.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the timeline for me. I could realistically get it done. So I guess any board members looking to make a motion or
so I'm not sure, I'm gonna word this correctly, so guide me if I seem like I'm going astray, but I'll try and keep it simple. So I move that we adopt it with the with changes as reviewed and approved by the chair. And keep it very simple. So that's my motion.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So
That's good.
make sure I understand, yes, so we're gonna keep 3.1, enhance it, or you're replacing it with just simply a disclosure requirement?
That's my understanding, that we
Okay.
would remove the added 3.1 section
Okay,
and in the budget, which so I believe there's already a statement on sustainability.
is it, and I read through this, but forgive me, is there something that really says these funds are intended for new programs? I mean, is that clearly stated here?
Uh,
Cause the thing I liked about that section was that it just does kind of say what those dollars are intended for.
I think that would be back at
At the
the
top.
beginning of our,
And it's
1 in
for
the
new-
code, and then 2, the purpose of the award,
For new
for new and expansion.
and expansion, okay.
I think
Yeah.
there was startup funding, that word was changed for expansion to be consistent with the name of the grant.
My only caution, and I will vote in favor, just but as we're thinking, it, 'cause we saying, you know, that the board chair can, let's make sure we don't have any loopholes that put us in an uncomfortable situation. And then, especially when people really think about whether they're disclosing based on a new or factor in that there might have been an older program in that same site, same address, but because in ACGME, it's new. How,
Yeah, the other,
words matter.
The other thing I'm thinking about, Angie, as you raise that point, is that historically, this hasn't happened a lot recently. This grant has been used for long existing residency programs to expand their size. So they don't necessarily, so it's new positions, but it's not a new program. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it could be a 40-year-old family medicine program that's 777, and they say, we're gonna go to 999. And that's not a new program,
Right.
but it has been how some of the expansion grants have been are eligible to apply if they're creating, added capacity in the state. So that piece of saying it has to be new
Okay, so we don't.
new positions, I guess, is the language that would need.
The rubric doesn't give any points for new positions, that the rubric only looks at the age of the
It
program.
looks at the age of the program, but they are eligible to apply.
Sure.
That does come out in
So
the,
they have
Yes.
lower in.
They're gonna end up lower.
Yeah.
They're gonna end up lower, but they can't apply.
yeah, that's reported in the expansion grant report, but it's not considered in the application.
Yeah,
That was just added this last year in the expansion grant reports, positions over CMS cap.
so Angie, I wanna make sure we're getting to your concern though. So if we make the change on 3.1 and just, put some language in there that says applicants must disclose if they've had prior GMED funding in that same location, area,
Yes,
program.
it's like, just my flagging to be very careful in how we word things, to think about loopholes and.
Loopholes,
Yeah,
yeah. And I think, and then give the board discretion in that space if
Yes.
they're to evaluate that prior funding and its impact.
And maybe it doesn't disqualify them, but it just effectively, we know.
We get to
You're gonna
review
see
it,
more.
we get to hear about it and decide if we move it forward.
Yeah.
That would be, I think, the intent. And I think there's always probably gonna be a loophole too. Is sort of what I'm afraid. I mean, it's hard to write a perfect RFP. It really is. We've learned that a little bit the hard way. Yeah.
Yeah, well, if that was the decision of the board, staff would work on drafting up language, passing it up the education vertical to the legal team and make sure that checks out there and then pass on to the board.
Okay, so we've had a motion, we had a second, we've had some discussion. Is there more discussion from anyone, particularly online? I can't see the hands or anything right now, so I want to pause for a second.
Seeing none.
Okay, then all in favor of that motion? Oh,
Let's
wait,
do a roll call vote for
roll
this
call vote.
one.
Okay, got it.
Just, check all of our bases.
Okay. Happy to.
Dr. Steve Becker,
Yes.
Dr. Knight,
Yes.
Dr. Shockley,
Yes.
Angie Zagel Hannon,
yes.
Dr. Gebke,
Yes.
Adam Thacker,
Yes.
Dr. Greist,
Yes.
and Dr. Hearn.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Okay, wonderful, thank you. So we'll get that Lucas, thank you for getting that taken care of. We'll get that taken care of quickly. I'll review it, and then if we're comfortable, that'll be able to be posted fairly soon for those new applicants who are going to be looking to complete the expansion RFP here in advance of our July meeting, right? All right, wonderful. And so next item, and appreciates everyone's comments and working through that item we just went through. Thank you. So the next item, Lucas has an update regarding the Northwest Health Porter Family Medicine Grant that we voted on at our last meeting. This is a program that, if you recall, they applied for 1 year after the standard deadline, and the funding was set to begin for the PGY 2 year, and we had kind of modified the amount. And I want Lucas can you share some of the things that we've reviewed since then and some things we may need to do to deal with it?
Yep, so as I was reviewing the minutes for our last meeting, I noticed a miscalculation in the amount of available funds that the board had when they voted on this. So the program would cost $540,000. The board has available funds of $26,000. So at this point, rather than postponing that and signing in July, staff would recommend not moving forward with that grant. And, you know, considering a vote to overturn that approval on the basis of lack of sufficient funds. That language is in the RFP. It's also in the contracts if it were to be signed, and perhaps that's internal context. This has not been a signed contract. That grantee will still receive, what is it? It's in the minutes. I think it's internal medicine grant for the amount of 1.17 million. And so that is kind of the update that I have at the moment. Northwest Health Porter.
And we had approved 1.17.
So that's the grant that would remain that, you know, will be signed and untouched.
Right.
This is the family medicine program. It should be number 3 on the list. Northwest Porter Unique. Score 51.8.
That was just for their second and third year.
To start with their second and third year. That's correct.
And that was the last one we approved, right?
Correct.
And then we modified the amount based on what the available funds were, but when we
Yeah.
reviewed the available funds,
They would have been.
they weren't
It's not
available.
available.
Cause it's confusing.
And so, you know, a bit of additional context, you know, the board does not have the 500,000 to spend on this. Come July 1, the board will receive $7 million, of which 6.9 will be available for general grant fund use. And then around $270,000 is in the process of being liquidated from previous grants that were unused, unspent dollars. So there will be a bit more money come July, but there's currently not the funds to sign for this.
So that grant had been 540,000
Mhm.
and we had approved a partial amount of that.
270 per year, so I think it comes out to like 810 or something like that for the
Okay,
full
yeah.
program.
And that was the last one we approved,
Mhm.
but there's really only $26,000 and stuff.
Correct.
You need a motion?
Mhm. Yeah. I guess that those are the options of the board, though. The board could choose to delay and sign that agreement come July. But that would be the first dollars out of the incoming appropriation.
Have we notified them of the award that we approved at the last meeting?
They've been notified. We've been trying to get them re-registered with the state. So we've had communication. But this was a bit more recent.
What does re-register with the state mean?
Oh, they were registered as vendors with the state and their status just went inactive.
Oh,
So we just need to get their updated documentation.
Yeah. Are they expecting this money?
Yeah, that's what-
Do
yeah.
you think?
Well, so that's what we need to reach out to them.
They
I
think it's-
was not gonna reach out until board had discussion. on this.
Okay, cause you caught this before we had notified them.
Correct,
That's good.
correct.
But they could have listened, I mean, the
Right.
public,
Yeah.
it's a publicly available meeting, so.
And yeah,
I presume they would be aware that they were voted on, I would guess.
you'll notice in the minutes that that amount is above what was listed as the available funds.
Okay.
So,
So we have two, I think, a couple options. One is to
revert,
revert. Well, when you say revert.
I guess overturn.
Yeah, decide that we would not approve that grant. And the other is to keep it approved and then use the money come July 1st, that's we get available.
I would like to move to delay funding of the program as approved at the last meeting until July 1st, when funding is available. Is that the timing, July 1st?
Yes, yep, that should be when the appropriations arrive. So, is there a second or discussion?
Are we open for discussion?
I think we would need a second to open discussion.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Would that mean it would
be approved at that time, or we would just hold us to discuss again at that time? And we could go either direction at that point. Because how much money will we have coming in? Are we still just gonna have a fraction to cover that?
So the money, will be 6.9 million. No program development grants have been approved. And then staff anticipates around 270,000 additional, so that would bring us out to about 7.1 million. If you'll recall, last year, around 11 million, I think it was about 11.2, was received in expansion applications. This upcoming year, the board is anticipating an additional 4. One internal, well, I guess they're the Parkview and IU Health programs.
Because potentially you're gonna have programs that come in July that are gonna score maybe higher than this.
Right,
I don't know that we would want them to get.
right. I mean, they're essentially getting
Right.
funds that we didn't have
Right.
available.
And
And that,
the board has done that previously,
yeah,
signing
Yeah.
forward, so.
but had we made a proper calculation at that meeting, I think we
Would not.
we would not have awarded it.
Good point.
I don't know that.
Yeah, I'll speak against that motion just from that standpoint. I think that we would not have awarded it if we thought we didn't have the money.
Yeah, so it's a clerical error.
Negatives there, but, so I think,
Okay,
I feel like we could reconsider it at that time based on
once
whatever.
we
they
have all
know.
of the,
Yeah, but I don't know that it would be a hearing.
But would they have to reapply? I think they would have to reapply.
Yeah, they would be on the next cycle. They're not, that's
Yeah.
no longer the current, this cycle. I mean, so we would, I guess the option is to just either move forward with Dr. Gep, I mean, well, we could vote on Dr. Gepke's motion, but the other is to consider amending or changing the motion to something or a new motion that would say we would honor the available funds. We'll revert to honor the available funds we had at our October meeting.
so the motion I have right now is to delay the signing of this grant until July 1st, when new dollars hit. That is the current motion. And so we'll need to take a vote. And we'll just do another roll call. So,
just clarifying question, so that if we did that, there would be less money for the next cycle available.
so that's 7.1 we discussed. That would be down, what, 6.6, 6.5?
So it would
Around-
be 500.
Yeah.
Ish thousand less for
Mhm.
next year's cycle of applications.
Did we give a partial to them or we gave a full to them when we voted that?
I
Do you
Partial.
understand what I'm saying?
Partial. It
It
was
was a partial. So would this say we're still doing a partial or
The
would
more
we give a full?
partial,
But the
a
reason we were-
partial.
Reason we gave a partial was they hadn't asked for that class
Right.
on time for the, when they were first.
Right.
PGY1.
We gave them enough to pay for their second and third years
to begin
from
during
that
that
class.
second year,
And then they also
Yeah.
got
internal medicine.
the internal medicine.
Yes, and that is the full training for
They
internal
got the
medicine,
full-
the full green. Mhm. That's correct. Okay, so on the motion to delay, and approve come July 1st, we'll do our roll call vote. Dr. Becker,
No.
Dr. Knight,
No,
Dr. Shockley.
No.
Angie Zagel Hannon,
Yeah.
Dr. Gepke,
Yes.
Adam Thacker,
No.
Dr. Greist,
Yes.
Dr. Hearn. The motion does not pass.
So just, circling around, they were funded for the first class for the first year. but not for second and third years. Is that what I just heard clarified?
They forgot to apply 1 year.
Yeah,
And so that was why there was only a request for a partial, because
right.
they'd asked if we would retroactively do that, pay for that first class, and we decided not to do that. Yeah.
I mean, do we know anything about the status of the program? Are they in financial jeopardy? I read that.
I guess the way I look into this, we had prioritized, and they were, the only reason that they were getting funding was we still had funding available. We got to them on the priority list.
Yeah,
I understand, but if they had applied for the entire amount the first time, they would have gotten it because they did
2 years
reach
ago.
that level of priority.
2 years.
Good point. Mhm.
And that was the discussion that the board had at the end of October was, does the board interested in partially funding that next item down on the list or for what was a previously higher score? So,
yeah.
I guess I feel uncomfortable with, because basically we would be retroactively paying for this year's second year class
correct.
in July.
Yeah.
And I feel I'm hesitant to set the precedent that we're going to retroactively pay programs.
Especially given it was our error.
When we don't have money available. And we've said no to other programs.
That's how the contract would read, up to 540,000 in invoicing for fiscal year 27.
But to your point, Tricia, it was our error, not theirs.
It was our error. Yes, it was our error.
Okay.
So at this point, do we need to enter?
The previous vote or approval still stands. So at this moment, that grant is approved. So is there, the board's made the motion to not delay and approve. So I guess that's the discussion. Is the board interested in,
If we did nothing, what would happen?
staff would have to reach out, before the end of this fiscal year to say that sufficient funds are not available to approve this.
Right.
Finance won't draft a contract unless it
Without the
states.
available funds.
When the funds became available, would it just happen if we left it as is? Or,
I would draft up a requisition and, pass that to our finance department and they would send a contract.
Mean in the current fiscal year? Or do you mean in future fiscal years?
I guess, future, because in current fiscal year, there's not gonna be the money. In
Correct.
future fiscal years, if we did nothing in a future fiscal year when there was money, would it pay out? Then,
The
if we did nothing,
language that would have to be changed because they couldn't submit an invoice until after this fiscal year ends.
so we have to do something, we can't leave as.
I don't.
If the position of the board,
To not give direction to this program.
if the position of the board is, still moving with forward with some kind of approval, there is the option of come July, approving 1 year of training, first dollars out of the general fund. If you recall, the board is anticipating around $280,000 in liquidated funds from previous grants. So what, 270,000, I think is what we're talking about per year of training.
Also, if they submit a new proposal, their scoring will likely be lower because it's another year in, correct? Yeah. Mhm. So look good.
So an option would be to approve paying for half basically of what they've requested for 1 year's
The
work,
third,
beginning in July of 26.
up to $270,000. Mhm.
The funds we had available at the meeting.
Yeah.
In October.
And I plan to give a full financial debrief in April, once our finance department kind of consolidates those multiple funds that we have. So I can give you a better line of sight comes in.
So we could consider another motion if,
I make the motion that we fund 1 year with funds become available.
Okay,
I'll second that.
that was shocking. Okay,
any discussion?
Summarize.
and like I said, nothing's been signed yet. We're still working to get their documentation, so. On paper, yeah, no actual changes at the moment.
And 1 year does match what is supposed to come available from the reclaimed funds. So we should,
I think,
we should have.
I'm trying to recall what the
exactly
number is. It's more than 270, but we'll just look at that as our safety net.
Just, yeah, just one,
Yeah.
okay. All right, so any clarifications or discussions needed?
Sorry, how much is 1 year versus the 270?
270,000
Is 270,000? Okay.
for 1 year of training. Yep.
You want to do another roll call vote?
Let's do another roll call vote. So on the motion to fund 1 year when funds become available, we will take our roll call vote. Dr. Becker,
Yes.
Dr. Knight,
Yes.
Dr. Shockley,
Yes.
Angie Sigel-Hannon,
Yes.
Dr. Gepke,
Yes.
Adam Thacker,
Yes.
Dr. Greist,
Yes.
and Dr. Hearn.
Yes.
Unanimous, motion passes.
All right, wonderful. Thank you for working through that, to try to do the best we can by this situation. So thank you for your thoughtful discussions, and I think we got to a good place with that. And Lucas, you have what you need to step forward now. Okay, wonderful. And do we also need a motion to do minutes, change minutes or not? No.
If that, vote's not being, kind of overturned, but just amended,
Yeah.
I can reflect that in this minutes, so no action needed for that.
Okay, gotcha. All right, wonderful. Okay, well, let's, now that we've been through new business, old business, now we're up to the discussion items section of our agenda. Union Hospital feasibility grant update. So this is a feasibility grants that are not on any set cycle necessarily in terms of our calendar. And so we have an update on the feasibility grant that was awarded by Union Hospital. And this report's coming directly from Union, from Autumn Fenner. Autumn, are you on and able to share some updates with us? We look forward to hearing about you, the feasibility grant.
Yes, I am. Thank you so much for the invitation today. I have a few partners that I'll introduce in a minute that are on the call as well, but there's a small team of us that's really excited to share the developments. So I'm sitting here in Terre Haute in West Central Indiana, and I really want today to be about thanking you and helping you understand the impact of what you do for the rural community in a really tangible way. So in July, I think it was 2024, your board granted us money to do a feasibility study. So here in Terre Haute, we do currently have one residency program. It's a longstanding family medicine residency program. It's really been successful for what it was designed to do, which is grow your own for providers. All of you that work in rural and have connections in rural know how challenging it is to recruit and retain providers. This has been one way that we've really been able to kind of change the map of what it looks like for health access in our community. It's worked really well for family medicine. So we had every reason to believe this would work for other areas. We are lacking so much in almost every specialty you can name. We have patients that are waiting 6 months for almost all specialty care, including just, colonoscopies. So we have some real challenges here, and we knew that this model would work. You granted us the money to do a feasibility study, and with that funding, we were able to hire a really amazing consulting team. We had recently finished a really comprehensive community health needs assessment, and we had talked to thousands of people. We really had a great idea of what the needs were of our community. That feasibility study absolutely built upon that in a way that we weren't able to because we just didn't have that expertise and knowledge locally. So what happened was we examined 4 areas for possible GME expansion. And that was really in consultation with our providers and with our community through that China assessment that we did. And we looked at psychiatry. That was identified as really the top need for this area. It's addiction and mental health, and it's not even close for us. So we really wanted to explore psychiatry. We had a really, really strong group of providers that wanted to look at cardiology and then internal medicine and really kind of a build out and supplement to our existing family medicine program as well. We looked at some fellowship opportunities. So we did complete the feasibility. We looked at those 4 areas. And through that process, we were able to get out and really meet with community partners. We met with all the rural hospitals across our region. And it was funny because I came in as a relatively new employee from a state that does health and education and everything very different, Minnesota. And I came here and I was told that this won't work, this won't work. We don't have the providers. They don't play nice in the sandbox. But once we got them in a room and started talking, we realized this can work and we can actually do this. And so what happened was Union was not ready at the time to move forward, but several of our partners that we engaged through your grant funding were absolutely ready. They saw the need and they were just on board immediately. They said, what can we do? So one of those partners was really kind of the voice in our community for mental health, behavioral health services, and they're named Harsha. So we have a really beautiful facility here. It's a psychiatric hospital, inpatient, over 80 beds. They have outpatient clinic as well. And Harsha said, we want to do this. We absolutely are all in. Tell us what it's going to take. So we are, from that little bit of money that you started us with, we're actually moving forward and we're making really good progress. We've been able to leverage your funds, and our local community foundation granted us $100,000 as seed funding to start the planning and development process. We are at a point now where we are probably less than 3 weeks away from submitting an application for our sponsoring institution. So we are excited. For the first time ever, we got, 7 providers together, 6 of them psychiatrists in a room, and they were able to have a GMEC meeting. We had our second one, our GMEC meeting about, actually it was this week, it was Tuesday. And so it's moving. It's actually going to happen, and it's becoming more and more real every single day. So that is happening, but it's opened up this larger discussion in the region. It's kind of this domino effect, and this is really the impact that I want you to understand. It started with just a question of, is this even feasible? You know, that's the feasibility side of the grant. And it has turned into this conversation where we have 4 rural hospitals that never thought that they could be a part of this, that are engaging and talking to each other and talking about larger collaborations. So the psychiatry piece is going to move forward. We're really excited about that. It's going to meet our top health need for the region, but all these other hospitals and partners are now talking about this and understanding that it's possible. So like I said, we are actively in the planning and development phase for starting a new psychiatry residency here in Terre Haute, and that's going to be housed at Harsha Behavioral Center. It's a true community collaboration. We're going to be working obviously with Harsha as the sponsoring institution. We have peers from Vincennes and from Evansville who have been active and giving us feedback and really helping us understand the process. We have private practice providers who are on board. The community foundation, everyone that hears about this just says immediately, how can I help? Which tells you we're doing the right thing. We are planning to submit an application for planning and development during this calendar year, and I'm working with Lucas on that. So we'll continue down that process to see what it looks like for timing. And the impact is just something I want you to understand, you know, the needs here. I've never seen a more traumatized community, and I've been really fortunate to work across the nation in various health capacities. We cannot recruit providers here. We have several mental health, behavioral health facilities and sites that have actively been recruiting for years. Mid-levels, we're doing okay, but, you know, getting those doctors has been a real challenge. So this is going to be a viable long-term solution for our community's top needs. I share a story when I talk to the Community Foundation. I'll just take a couple minutes because I really want you to hear it. When I was doing focus groups for our community health needs assessment, I was going out into the community and meeting with people where they were. One of the groups I met with was a group of veterans going through drug court. And I met with them in the basement of our library here right before they were going through drug court, probably an hour before they were doing court. And I really did kind of an open style facilitation. Just tell me what you think the needs are of the community. Did more listening than talking. Within 5 minutes, we knew that they wanted to talk about behavioral health, mental health, and addiction. Within 10 minutes, they were going around the room telling me about all the ways and times that they had tried to commit suicide. And it was probably one of the hardest conversations I've ever had to sit in. Very, very difficult. And at the end, I always ask them, I say, if I come back in 6 months to a year, what would tell you that I heard you and that this community is making progress, that we're actually true to our word and we're trying to do the right thing? And one of the veterans, he was so angry, I could just feel it coming off of him. And he was sitting close to me and he was almost in tears. And he looked at me and he said, fix it, just fix it. And so that's what we're trying to do. And that's the impact of your dollars. And I know that you get applications that are much bigger and from much bigger systems that have a lot more experience, but that initial investment in us is going to pay off in ways that are going to impact people in ways that are really hard to describe. And I just want you to know that. So I do have some colleagues on the line with me today. I have the consultant who did the feasibility study, Dr. Carmela Meyer, the COO of Harsha, Holly Neer, and who is going to be our APD and is an amazing psychiatrist at Harsha, Dr. Hinshaw. So we are open to questions, but like I said, I really just wanted to say thank you and help you understand the impact of what a small gift can mean for a community like ours.
Autumn, thank you so much. That is, I think, just touches at you're really touching and inspiring us in the work that we do, and just making it feel very real and how impactful it is to communities to have the possibility of growing more positions in their local communities that will hopefully stay in their local communities and address these issues. So, thanks for bringing your team along today, and thanks for the heartfelt sharing. And we wish you and your team great progress moving forward in this endeavor. And please reach out to Lucas and our members of the board if we can provide support and guidance, because this is the work that we want to see done. Thank you.
Yeah,
Any
absolutely.
comments or from the board or questions?
Thank you for applying.
Yeah.
Autumn, thank you for the detailed update. Like Dr. Shockley just mentioned, it's been a while since we've had, well, I guess we had a more recent one too. But it's good to see the pendulum swinging back towards feasibility and not totally, exclusively in expansion. And I've enjoyed, the process as well. So thank you, Autumn.
Yeah, and I just love the story about bringing different partners in the room who maybe would have never thought of doing this, and the domino effect that it's having is a powerful message. And so thank you for championing it in your community.
Yeah.
All right, wonderful. So thank you so much. That was wonderful to hear, and just a really good update. We look forward to seeing what you all do moving forward.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate you all.
Of course. Okay, we're going to pivot now to public testimony, and today, let's see, I think we have Brooke Mullen. Are you going to, our Executive Director of the Health Workforce Council with the IDOH, is going to provide an update and talk a little bit about the Rural Health Transformation Project that was applied for last year. So Brooke, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Go ahead.
With pleasure. Okay, so I have some very specific updates for the board that I'm sure you guys are going to be really excited about. But given the breadth of interest in this room, I wanted to just kind of go over our whole application and where you guys are going to see this money in the next 5 years. So in collaboration with the Family and Social Services Administration, the Department of Health is spearheading this opportunity. We are calling it GROW, which stands for Growing Rural Opportunities for Wellness. So this is an overview of what we have covered. So this, again, part of the Working Families Tax Cut. This is the fiscal budget that was passed by by Congress this summer. We had the opportunity to apply for $1 billion over 5 years. And in December 29th, we were awarded $2.6 million. Now, what's really cool about that is that our budget was only for $200 million. So CMS was so impressed with our budget that they gave us an additional $6.9 million. So we got to go back to the drawing board, and I'm happy to say another workforce initiative was approved and we'll get additional funding. So I want to go over how we made these decisions and really what the community came back and told us. So we completed a needs assessment earlier in the fall. If any of you were part of the overview of the steering committee, this all happened very fast. We had 6 weeks. I think this is the fastest I've ever applied for any kind of federal money and heard back. But we were able to utilize a survey of our communities, and we got a huge response from Hoosiers. And what we learned is barriers to access, such as transportation, availability of services, workforce, and then rural facilities, financial stability were the number one concerns from the community. So based on that, what we did is we are doing 12 different initiatives through the state of Indiana. Now, I will tell you, CMS wanted us to there was a huge push on technology from CMS. They really wanted to see how we could leverage technology to move rural facilities forward. So remember, this money is 5 years. It's one and done. At the end of 5 years, we have to almost transform the rural healthcare delivery so that it doesn't need this money again. So the sustainability planning for this has been very, very challenging. But what we decided to do is we have 11 statewide initiatives that will focus on all over the state, specifically our rural areas, of course, but we'll hit many different areas of the state. And then we also know that the local areas, they know what they need. They make the best decisions for their communities. So 60% of our grant is going to be in regional grants to the area. So hold on to that for 1 second. We'll get more into that, what the regional teams are going to look like. I am the expert on the clinical training and health workforce statewide initiative, which is number 10. I am not the expert on these other 10 initiatives. So I will quickly tell you what they are. I do not have a lot of details, but if you have specific questions, I'm more than happy to connect you to the initiative lead. So one of our statewide initiative comes from our Emergency Preparedness Division, and this is for the Medical Operations Coordination Center. So this is for a 24/7 statewide hub to make sure that people in rural communities are getting to the right place. So if we have a patient who has a psychiatric concern or a psychiatric need, that they are being transported to a psychiatric hospital and not necessarily the local ER to sit there. So that's what this money would go for as well. Statewide Initiative 2 is Growing Community Connections through 211. Indiana 211 is a service that is run out of the Family and Social Services Administration. This kind of doubles down on that and creates a referral pathway. So right now, if someone calls 211 and they say, hey, I can't find a doctor in my area, or hey, I need help with food, I need help with housing, we give them information, but there's really no follow-up to see if they went and did that information. This will allow us to have sort of like an EMR system to say, did this person call you and follow up? Do they need more help? Can we come in and offer more support? Statewide Initiative 3 is interoperability and technology. Again, our data team is running with this. I believe it has a lot of EMR integration and a lot of making sure that information is in the Indiana Health Exchange. One of the things I hear is, we have a long-term care patient who goes into the hospital. That long-term care facility then doesn't have any idea what tests were run at the hospital because they can't access those systems. So this is a significant technological investment to get that off the ground and make sure that we can connect rural health care facilities together. We also have a growing pediatrics and obstetric readiness in rural emergency departments. So this is additional training and supplies should there be an OB or pediatric emergency in the department. Obviously, we want to get them transferred to the best suitable, most appropriate hospital as soon as possible, but what happens? Can we provide care for them there? Statewide Initiative 5 is growing cardiometabolic health standards and care in rural Indiana. A lot of this comes from the Make Indiana Healthy Again initiatives that are happening, but this will provide equipment and lifestyle medicine training. This is something that we are going to pay for lifestyle medicine training. So if there are physicians that are interested in this, they could be able to take advantage of that as well. And I will make these available so Lucas can share with you guys. Initiative 6 is growing access to hospital post-discharge medication. We just like to call it meds to beds. So if people leave the hospital with the medicines they need, they don't come back, ideally. So this is to make sure that we're reducing readmissions in the local, in the rural areas, and that they're getting the pharmaceuticals that they need before they leave.
How do they connect, or how do hospitals connect with this program? Has that been established or?
It has not. It is in the, what we have found is that there are a couple of hospitals. So mine, our chief medical officer, Dr. Crowder, is heading this initiative. We found there are a couple of hospitals that do this really well. And so we are asking them, how do you do it well? How can we pilot this throughout the state? What does this look like? So more information to come. Statewide Initiative 7 is growing access through teleconsult capabilities. Has anyone here used the Be Happy line before? Okay, so this is to double down on those teleconsults. So Be Happy is a service where you can call and talk to a psychiatrist as a family medicine doctor or any kind of other physician and talk about your patients and make sure they're getting the care they need. So this is for an expansion of that. And we also have looking at our telehealth and infrastructure. So this is money to for a feasibility study for our rural provider networks. Then we start with our workforce initiative. So we have statewide initiative 9, which is growing our rural health paraprofessional workforce. One of the things CMS wanted us to focus on as well was the community health worker and the role of the community health worker. So we will be paying for training for community health workers to make sure that we have them in the areas that need them. And we'll also be working with a local statewide university system to train healthcare for high school students. So it's a rural healthcare training academy. It happens during the summer. They can leave with credentials and then they continue to build on that, but also be stipends. So if they continue to invest in their learning, they will get a stipend and a reward for every credential or level that they achieve. We move on to the one that I'm most excited about and the one that really impacts you guys today. That's our growing clinical training and readiness. Are you ready? $6 million the next 5 years.
For this board.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
We gotta get a bell or something.
So, yeah.
Yay, that is the best news.
So, yeah, well, and I don't know if if you've been looking at the budgets for all of these line items, but $83 million.
That's
So,
a lot.
yeah, it's one of the largest parts of our ask. But yes, so over the next 5 years, you will expect to see $6 million coming in for rural residency recruitment. What we would like with that, now again, this is where CMS comes in and we need to do some things, and Lucas and I are kind of working behind the scenes on what does that look like? How financially does that happen? Right now, it looks like it's going to be a memorandum of understanding. We're not sure, but to help guide that funding and that decision, we are going to work with a vendor to do a rural residency strategy, a rural GME strategy. So that's actually going to be one of the first things out of the gate is we'll have them do that, give them about 6 months and make a 5-year strategic plan for how we can support these rural residency expansion. We know from working in other specialties that there are specialties that cannot be completed rural only, specifically OBGYN.
Yeah.
It's just, they're not going to make the numbers. So we're looking at rural rotations, things like that. How can we really double down on what we have? This is about creating new programs. This is about expanding programs. This is about making sure we have programs that are sustainable for moving forward. CMS is requiring a 5-year commitment with all of these funds. So this is where Lucas and I are going to have to work behind the scenes. So if hospitals are accepting this money, they will have to have these signed 5-year commitments that these people will work in rural areas. But I'm not getting hung up on the details. We can make that happen.
Yeah.
All right.
6 million would be available as soon as when?
Well, the money is supposed to come to us on March 1st. So as early as March 1st is when the funds will be available. Now, Lucas and I know what it's like to work with the
Yeah,
state,
sure.
so we're anticipating, I am really hoping that we will have, the funds available by Q3, and then I'll have the report for you done by Q4. Okay? So those are two really awesome things about the GME board, and I stepped into this work about 2 years ago, and I have just been completely blown away by the work that this board has done, and to see, I mean, just to hear what they just said about union, and this is good. This is gonna be great for our state. So along with that, there are some other things that I think you guys could get excited about as well. So if you don't mind, I'll tell you about those. Physician stipends. So what we realize is there are these urgent physician needs, like dire physician needs in an area. For example, I hear from people saying, if I don't get an anesthesiologist, I'm closing our local surgery center. Then people aren't gonna have. So we are gonna have an urgent need physician stipend program. This is all of the information as of today. You know, things might change, but it's going to be 30 awards of $300,000. So it's going to make a significant difference in communities. So we are going to those regional areas and part of their application and saying, what are the areas of need in your area? So, for example, we were going to dictate that it be OB, general surgery, But what we heard is, hey, I need anesthesia. Hey, I need endocrinology. Hey, I need this. So we're like, okay, you know what? We're going to let the communities decide what they need. And that's actually going to be part of their application process, is identify the specialties that you need. And then we'll be able to award 30 per year. Again, those physicians will then have to sign a practice agreement that they will stay in that rural community for 5 years. I will note, they don't have to live in that rural community. You just have to have 100% of your practice time in that rural community. So if you want to make that hour drive every day, be my guest. But the $300,000 would make it easier for you to buy a house in that rural community, right? Right. With $300,000, make you study family medicine if you weren't. So, I mean, things like that. That's what. I mean, that's what we're looking for our future. Okay.
Exciting.
In addition to that, I feel like I'm on Wheel of Fortune or something. So, you get the money. In addition to that, what we also heard is that we'd love to train in rural communities, but I don't have time. You're gonna drag my RVUs down. I'm gonna lose productivity. We heard you. So we're gonna offer preceptor stipends as well. So these will not just be for physicians, these will be from physicians to licensed clinical social workers. And it will vary by the position, and it'll also vary by the amount of rotations that you do. So for example, if a physician does 10 rotations, they'll get $10,000 stipend that year for them to take over what they might have lost with productivity. Though if you would like, I can give you lots of studies that show that when you precept, you actually don't lose productivity, you gain productivity, but we've heard it. So this will be able to incentivize preceptors, especially in rural communities. We know if we can get you to do at least one training in a rural community, that you're more than 5 to 6 times more likely to actually choose practicing rural one day.
And those preceptor statements are specifically rural.
Yes, they're specifically rural. And what I will say, that actually goes on to one of the policy changes that we're making. So the medical schools have agreed, and it is in legislation this year, that we will be requiring at least one rural rotation while you're in medical school. So we think that's huge. And I think the medical schools think it's a tremendous idea as well. So that's actually a policy change that we promised to CMS. When you sign up for a preceptor stipend, we are actually going to take your name and information and we're going to put that into a preceptor database, because what we hear from colleges and universities is, I can't find preceptors in my area. I'm trying to match my students. I can't. So we're going to create a database. I call it mymatch.com. If Dr. Weaver ever asks you about mymatch.com, this is the preceptor database. So basically this will, colleges and universities looking for preceptorships for their students will be able to go in here and say, well, this person's mother lives in this part of the state and she wants to do a rural rotation there. Who's available? Type in the zip code and get that number to come up as well. So really excited about that. When the opportunity came to ask for an additional $7 million, they said, hey, does anybody else have any ideas? And I said, I do. So as part of the additional $7 million, we got approved for our OB plan. So I think I've mentioned that here before, but this will pay for 4 years or for 5 years for salaries for family medicine OB fellowships. And then, yeah. So we'll be able to pay so we'll still have to find an institution who wants to do it. But if we say, hey, we're going to pay their salaries for the next 5 years, I think that takes a tremendous load off. And that will be required, again, urban and rural rotations, as well as, and I'm really excited about this, we are going to pay to establish a certified nurse midwife training school in Indiana. So right now we have several colleges and universities who've expressed interest, but they just don't have the funds to do it. We're going to pay all the first year startup costs for that. So
Did you say the family medicine obstetric fellowships that you're paying the fellow salary?
we're
or
paying the
faculty
fellow salary.
The fellows.
The fellow salary. So hoping that then the resources that are used can be for faculty salary, can be used for equipment and things like that. So just kind of take one load off of you. So
Is family medicine OB an accredited program? No. Okay, so that's kind of the challenge.
They're quicker to start up because they're not accredited.
Yeah.
The downside is not all hospitals will take that into consideration when they give privileges.
Yes.
If you haven't done an accredited program, but rural areas are usually a bit more lenient about that as long as you can show competence.
I was just thinking about consistency of compensation for those fellows too.
So Indiana has one OB fellowship program now for family medicine physician. It's up in South Bend, and they train 2 fellows a year. So our hope is that we can start with a program of 4, and we have several sites that are willing to rotate through. We've got some interest, and we are tracking the hospital credentialing and privileging issue, and the Health Workforce Council is hoping to facilitate conversations about that as well. So that's all for Initiative 10 that I'm really, really excited about.
I had no idea we were gonna have so much fun.
I know. But there's more. So we have our statewide initiative 11, which is growing our rural behavioral health workforce. So this is sort of like our paraprofessional workforce development. This will have stipends and pay for healthcare academy and training for behavioral health. And our friends at the Division of Mental Health and Addiction are running with that. I also want to talk about, because this is something I think you guys are going to want to be involved with in your communities, it's those regional grants. So remember, 60% of this money is going to be regional grants, and we've identified 8 different areas. So the regional grants say, hey, everything that we're already doing from a statewide, how can you augment that? How can you make it better? What more does your community need from it? How can you do it? So right now we're working through the process of what that looks like and how those resources are going to be funded. So here's the map. This is like going to be my ride or die for the next 5 years. So the colored counties are the regions. The ones that have the stripes through them, that means that part of the county is designated as rural, so maybe not all of the county. The white are ineligible for direct funding. But I think what's really important, and what Dr. Weaver would tell you to remember, is so say IU in Marion County, it doesn't mean that IU can't support its patients in Clinton County with that money as well. So just because you are in that county doesn't mean that you can't apply for the funds, as long as you are going to be using it to be used in the rural areas. Okay, does that make sense? Questions about that? Okay. So if I have learned today is the last day, but if you are interested in signing up they're bringing together stakeholders from each of these communities. I believe it's 11 members. It's a member of the legislature. There's a pharmacy member. There's all kinds of, if you're interested in joining one of those, today is the last day. You have until 11:59 p.m. to sign up for that. And you can scan that QR code if you'd like to join for your community. But we also have a web page up, which again, fastest I've ever seen a web page come up. We made buttons. So we have frequently asked questions, initiative descriptions, the regional grant application, and also results of our stakeholder survey. So a lot of information, a lot of good things coming. I will tell you, for our initiative, I am pitching you guys as our quick win. So here's what you need to know is CMS is going to reevaluate every year, and we have to submit our metrics and show them that we're making progress. If we are not making progress, they can take that money away. They can say, we're not going to give you the 2.7 or the 207 million for the next year. We're going to give you less. We're going to give Texas, who's shown they can do this, more money. So I have positioned and said, GME is a quick win. We can get that money out the door very, very fast, and we can show that it's making a difference this year. So they talked a lot about shovel-ready programs and making sure that we were making an immediate impact. And this is my pitch. I was like, we can show them. We do have the metric of creating 15 new residency positions. Those can be new, like you said, like a 555 goes to a 777. That can count as well. But that is the goal to CMS, is that we show them with this money, we created 15 new positions. What else did I want to say?
Is it,
That needs to be
Go ahead.
rural, in a rural
Yes.
location.
Yes.
is it possible that there may be more than 6 million per year available out of that 83 if other funds are not earmarked?
Could. So yeah, it could make more money available at the end of every year. We will be, this is going to be, we have a consultant on board just to do metrics and just to make sure that we have applications and deadlines met. So it could change from year to year. And CMS is looking for opportunities to highlight. So they may say, hey, look at Connecticut did this really awesome program. Everybody do what Connecticut did, or something like that. So we'd love for Indiana to be like, oh, look at what we did with GME. How easy would this be to replicate for your state? One state is paying for a medical school. So it was state, because I went through all 50 states' applications for their workforce, and they didn't have a medical school in their state. So they're using their money to establish a medical school. It's like, wow, that's awesome. So, I mean, a lot of flexibility with the money, but there's also going to be a lot of accounting to make sure that people get where they need to go. And that, again, we'll be monitoring this for 5 years to make sure that people stay.
For the rural expansion slots, are you talking about it needs to be in effect starting July for the current match, or do we have till 2027?
Yeah, you would have, so when the money comes, it would be 2027.
Okay,
Answer your
good.
question. Yeah, like I'm not expecting.
Sometimes it's like really fast.
Yeah. But from our perspective, the money is out the door. So from our perspective, we gave you the $6 million. Done.
That's amazing.
So that's it from our perspective. So, and then we'll be able to, and we can say easily in the second year in the application, yes, we did this, they funded these. So again, Lucas and I will be working very closely together on what those stipulations are, because again, it's going to come with a little bit of, hey, we need more information. We're probably going to need like NPI numbers so we can track people and have settings in place for that. I will tell you, with our Indiana student loan repayment programs that we use, we've had one person default in like 20 years. On the agreement to stay so I really have high expectations that people will, and once they're in a community for 5 years, they're gonna stay. So. Questions, concerns, comments?
For the rural GME strategy development, you said you're gonna use a consultant.
We are.
With that, have you identified that? consultant?
We haven't, and we are identifying whether that can go out. We're working with our finance teams to identify, does that need to go out to general bid? We hope not, because that takes a really long time. We really want to move fast on this. But if not, I mean, we identified, previous people we've worked with before in this space, and I'm confident that we can find an expert.
Is there an opportunity for additional funds to increase the pot of student loan reimbursement? Because I remember we looked at how we compare to the surrounding states and we're lagging.
So one thing that CMS did dictate with this is that we weren't allowed to do student loan repayment with any of these programs. No states were. So it is something we're actively looking at, and I work with our team that does the student loan repayments every day. And they have resubmitted to try to get that money additional years. And then we're also looking at like community, because some states use like a business match, and things like that. The state of Michigan, their employers contribute to the student loan repayment as well. So we're looking at all kinds of options and opportunities for that, but CMS was very specific that there is already a student loan repayment program available through the HRSA, and we were not allowed to do that.
Okay.
Like you can use stipends for whatever you want.
Right, different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you guys. I really appreciate the time. Hopefully next
Yeah.
time, maybe I can come with a big check.
Yeah.
You want to do
Thank
that?
you, yeah.
Killer, public testimony ever.
Yeah, I think so. Pretty good one.
No, this is fantastic news. So we knew this was a big opportunity, but it's amazing how fast and how quickly we know what directionally we're gonna have and how it can benefit the board and some of those programs that, we couldn't fund last year. We are gonna be positioned much stronger next cycle. So this is fantastic news. I'm thrilled. Yeah. Any other comments from anyone? Any other public testimony? Try to beat that.
Yeah. It's a fact.
More than 6 months.
Yeah, if you have more than 6 million, we're open to your public testimony. No, just kidding. Okay, well, fantastic. I think we've gotten through everything and this is a productive meeting. So thanks everyone for being here. So our next board meeting is Friday, April 24th. So make sure, mark your calendars. And just a reminder that each board meeting or each board member is asked to be at 2 in-person meetings a year based on the requirements, and I think that's written into the code. Yeah, so just a reminder on that. And if there's no other business, then I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right. Second, nobody's opposed, I'm sure. So we are adjourned and we'll see you all in April. Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you very much.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks for being willing.